So, we're coming to you from the office. This is Jacy MoonSpirit to my side here. I'm actually their sidekick in this for a change. They have spearheaded a movement to bring you something. What was the name you just gave me that was so spot on?
Padma Padas.
Padma Padas. Oh, mindful path forward, huh? Yeah, sounds interesting. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your idea here?
So I went through a 200-hour yoga teacher certification a year ago, and I've been reading a version of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras through The Secret Power of Yoga by Nishala Joy Devi. And so I wanted to make this accessible because when I would put the sutras to class, they would not understand them. And they weren't written in a contemporary way that allowed people in 2025 who were going to my classes for mostly fitness purposes to engage with the philosophical construct of yoga. So what I decided to do was find a way to bring the sutras to them in the same way as one of my compassion cards sets. So it's an oracle deck that's based around Patanjali's Yoga Sutras as retold by us, as retold by Nishala Joy Devi. So I basically read this book after she did all of the research on the translations for me, and then I made it very contemporary because we teach a life coaching course.
Right.
And I wanted it to have our language in it so that if I threw one at them, they would understand how to apply it to their life. Because, you know, you are divine joy is a great concept, but how do we get from, I have to go to yoga class to, I'm divine joy embodied? I wanted something that would help us get there.
So you want people to understand live, love, be love.
I want people to understand that if you do create your own reality and you think that you're limited to only the things that you're familiar with to start with, that a foundational awareness of what yoga actually is as the combination of the mind working with the feelings and the breath and the poses is essential to help you understand how you move through your life.
True enough.
Well, the easiest way to explain it is, you know, live, love, be love. But also, if you can't breathe in comfortably, then you're in a flight, a fight, or a freeze response. So you need to loosen that. You know,
like the realization that if you breathe in joy, you exhale joy.
Yeah. If you allow more good into your life and you make room for it, then you get more good out of life because you have that already present in your environment and you make a practice of letting it in. Similar to how if you practice doing the splits over time, you will eventually get there as long as you're doing it safely.
Right.
So the Padma Padas, which is our 60-card deck that has really nice mandala imagery in it, also has mudras, which are hand positions for meditation. You use them because they activate different meridians in the body that are connected to your organs, like your lungs, or your heart, or your brain, or your ears, and helps you activate those with the intention of doing what the saying says. So if it says listen to your heart, you activate your ears with one of the mudras, because that's how it's been shown to work, is through the study of mudras. So you activate them with your position, and then you meditate on the meaning behind the saying.
Okay.
So if you're like told to listen to your guides but you don't know how, you can activate your mudra and let the mudra activate the mechanics of the body to get the body online with doing the stretch, to doing, you know, the lead. So none of them are actually yoga pose cards. They're mudra cards because this is a meditation tool. It's there to help you get the mechanics of the brain aligned with feeling better, which connects the mind with the heart.
Yoga is not just the physical body, it's the mind, it's the spirit also.
Exactly.
And if you don't incorporate the mind and spirit in the yogic practice, you're leaving 2/3 of the system out of the loop.
Well, also, how effective is it when you activate those psoas muscles doing some of those stretches if you're stuck in the fight and flight for 2 hours afterward?
Right.
You can't process the emotion that the pose pushes you through because you don't have the practice of the deep listening yet, and you don't have the practice of understanding the connection between the emotions and the physical state yet. Like how we say that we hold all our stress and tension in our neck and shoulders,
Right.
we also hold our grief in our hips.
Right.
And if you're stuck in a grief cycle and you don't know how to get out, a pose may not do that for you. A breath work might do that better. Or just knowing that you have a simple hand mudra you can do while you're waiting in the doctor's office for
Right.
your checkup is more effective for people who can't do an hour-long practice.
And you might have seen me sitting here with my hands clasped like this. I'm actually maintaining my calm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I have a public appearance thing. I freeze. And I don't want to freeze on you guys. I want Jacy to get this out there to you because they're helping me learn. Okay? And, you know, I'm admittedly a studied person. Okay? I have studied extensively a lot of different things. But yoga is something entirely new to me. And the yogic principles actually appeal to me. Why? Because I can relate.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because when applied, they're the same thing I've been doing for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? They're moving forward in a good way, making good choices. And that's what we're about here.
Yeah.
You mentioned guides. You included a few in the deck that you assembled.
I did. So in yoga, part of the gift of yoga is storytelling. And I got a lot out of my yoga philosophy classes when they were discussing stories from the Bhagavad Gita or the Mahabharata. So those ancient yogic texts are also part of the foundational understanding of yoga as a philosophy. So storytelling is intrinsically part of what we're supposed to do here. And when you put together your yoga classes, you put them together with a theme, you put them together with your sequence. You have peak poses, you have foundational poses, you have openers, you have backbends, you have all these different things. And they're all connected to a part in the practice for the purpose of helping the spirit and the physical body align. And to me, the characters in the story were relatable. I was told that when you're reading a yogic text, you're every character in the story. So you're the soldier who doesn't want to go to war, and you're also the king who realizes that standing in the center of the battlefield and observing everything around you can be as an experience. It's a yoga experience. So when you're in the stretch and you're having a hard time breathing, you're also having a yoga experience. So the gods that I included, the deities that are included in the deck, are Ganesha, because he's the master of the world, the remover of obstacles. So we trust the big pink elephant guy to help us because he's huge, he has a massive presence, but he's kind, so he's not threatening. And his mount is a mouse. So imagine an elephant trying to ride a mouse. You'd have to be very graceful, and you'd have to be maneuvering very gracefully and thinking very positively to overcome those obstacles if it was applied in a literal sense. Then there's also Saraswati. Saraswati is a goddess of poetry and the arts, and this is an art. So I wanted people to understand that yoga is not just a physical fitness class, it's also an art.
Right.
And so is making the deck. I don't have a grip on a lot of the digital media side of the creation of the deck, so that's why I brought you into it, because I could explain what I was going for and you were able to then put together the deck. So I thought, that's a very sattvic experience. This is very Saraswati oriented, so we have her included. And because we had her included and we had Ganesh included, I thought we should include the other creators. So we have
We have to have a balance, too.
yeah, so we have the Trimurti, which is Shiva, Vishuddhi, and Brahma, because you had to have the creator, the protector, and the destroyer to understand your cycles.
Right.
Why do we make a cycle? Why do we defend the stage of the unfolding that we're in? When do we know how to move out of that? And how do we navigate that? So I thought of the gods, the male forms, as the knowing when to do something. And then because they had, major consorts, they had goddesses that balanced them out. We have the how. So you have your timing and you have your explanation of how. So the goddesses that were included were Saraswati, and we also have Kali, and we have
Lakshmi.
Lakshmi, that's right. So Lakshmi and Vishuddhi go together,
Right.
So that you have your protector, but you also have your wealth. And then you also have, for Brahma, you have Saraswati, and for Shiva, you have Kali. So these destroyer gods help each other to know how the cycle is ending and what is coming forth from that. So you take all of the corrupt systems out, what are you left with? And that's where Shiva and Kali come in. And then you have the Shuri, and you have the protector, and you have the goddess of abundance and health and good fortune. So when things are going well, we want to keep that momentum going.
Right.
So I thought including those would help us to do that. And then when we need to be the creator and step into listening to our own inner creator, we have Brahma and Saraswati, because we have the one that says, but you're creating this for yourself, this is how you're doing it. So each one had two sides of the same coin. And then we had Ganesha, and we had, and I have notes here on all of this, because we really did do this ourselves. I went and I copied down everything from the first pada here, and I started writing my own translations for these, so that everything would be good. And our last god, he's masculine, is Hanuman, because he's the monkey god of joy. And monkeys traditionally are tricksters, but my favorite yoga story was about how his love was stolen from him, and he had to go on a whole soul-searching journey. He works with a bear, he works with a tiger, he works with a snake, so there's other medicine that comes into it, and then he has to take the leap of faith. So I thought, well, every time you come into your yoga, it's always going to be new. It doesn't matter if you've been doing yoga for 100 years, for every single day of the year. Every time you come into your yoga pose, your body will respond as if it's the very first time. Every time you take a conscious breath, it's a new beginning. So Hanuman represents to me the leap of faith we have to take when we step into doing the journey, when we step into doing any kind of spiritual work, any kind of teaching. When I step into the yoga teacher position at the front of the class, that's me stepping into Hanuman.
When the new students step off on the road to humanities.
Exactly. So there needed to be somebody there at the beginning of the cycle that would keep you uplifted the whole time. And so that's where Hanuman came into the deck for me. So all of the deities that are there have a mantra that goes with them. So we have the Sanskrit included, and I also wrote an English translation for those, so that people who don't have an understanding of how to pronounce Sanskrit, or who are timid around the practice of using Sanskrit in classes, can theme their classes using the English words for inspiration.
Right. It gets rather confusing because and are
well, V's or W's sometimes.
so similar, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Saraswati is Saraswati in English, but it's Sarasvati in
well, also, when England invaded India back in the day, we had a whole bunch of gods who changed names. Like Ganapati is the Sanskrit name that we use for Ganesha in practice, but Ganesh or Ganesha is what we got after colonization happened. So some of these are not traditional names anyway, unless they're offered in the Sanskrit way. So to keep it connected to the homeland of India, I wanted to continue to use the Sanskrit, or at least have it physically present on the card. But since it's already been a co-opted practice for thousands of years, and what we see as yoga now is so far away from what traditional yoga would have been anyway, because there would have only been about 20 or so poses. Now there's hundreds of them, and there's hundreds of breath techniques and hundreds of connections to different chakras and things that we all bring into it. So to keep all of that intact, I wanted it to have a foundational root connection.
Yeah.
So we kept some of the Sanskrit names for the mudras and the gods in the mantras and the sutras.
It's kind of, and I brought up humanities for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Jacy was a stellar student. She caused problems every day.
I did. It was my mission. And I liked to ask questions too. That was something I was allowed to do.
You learned in humanities to learn and incorporate.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
To learn and incorporate. And I didn't limit you to one path of learning. I limited you to your choice of learning.
Right. I was held accountable to my choices during humanities because I hadn't had a proper accountability partner before, but I also hadn't had any teachers really who challenged me to think for myself outside of the construct of the information that was given to me. So I was taught, like, God is love, but God also wiped out entire civilizations. How does love wipe out entire civilizations?
Lovingly.
Right, lovingly. Lovingly. So I went from being a Methodist to being a pagan, and then from being a pagan to being a pagan minister, and then from being a pagan minister to being a yoga teacher. And all of these things are still part of who I am, except for the Christian part. But when I was going through humanities, it was mostly about stripping away the superficial labels and the defenses of the information that were already present in the information. Because information protects itself. An idea protects itself. You can't really kill it. So you have to change your idea about who you are, what your purpose is, and what your functions should be when you decide to step on a spiritual path. And that's what humanities is for. It's living up to the potential that animals see in us, that plants see in us, that nature provides for us. So if nature gives you a bountiful harvest and you let it rot in the fields, and then you go hungry, but you could have gone out and harvested that bounty, then you should know better and do better. And so that's what you teach through the Four of Like Kind programs.
That was actually a Humanities Lesson 101 from Jacy MoonSpirit.
I did this a lot. I like to help people a lot. And this is how I like to navigate people who are stuck in humanities tests, like mindfulness and selflessness and superficiality and spendthriftiness and religious trauma and all of the trauma, dogmatic trauma. Yeah, your inner dogma is the only one that actually counts for anything, because we're all each our own independent center of our own perspective in our own universe. So if you believe that you're not, the pinnacle of greatness, or you're not the main character energy in your own life story, then you then have to reshape a whole lot with Spirit Soaring's help when you go through our program, because we teach people for a year and a day. And in a year and a day of dedicated practice, you really can change a whole lot of stuff. And I want people to have something in their hands that proves that you can do that, because 8 years ago I couldn't write a deck. I didn't even read decks that well. And I now can sit with my friend and say, hey, the thing with the digital art and the computer is not my thing. Can you do that? And I can teach you all of this stuff that I've learned in the last year, and we can put it in a deck.
And we are.
We're
and
6 cards away from being done.
We will be self-publishing. Mm-hmm. The deck will be purchasable through fouroflikekind.com. Mm-hmm. Look for it soon. And be ready, because it's an eye-opening experience. My friend Jacy MoonSpirit is a wonderful yogic teacher. They have already changed lives in the house, and they are ready to change lives outside there where you are. Make allowances. Make life happen. And make the changes necessary to move forward. Making good choices in a good way. Peace and blessings, everybody. We love you.
Bye, guys. Have a good one.